Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again here at the Right on Time podcast with episode number 13. I was going to ask for a drum roll, but it would just be me banging on this poor table, and it's quite beaten up if you could look at it from my standpoint of view. Anyways, it's been a good week. Last week, and I know I said it already because I film on Tuesdays, but last week, Tuesday was the only day of the week, of that week, that I didn't write. Same issue this week. This Tuesday morning, I also didn't write. Also, I already skipped into the progress, which again is the whole reason for this podcast. Today's episode, number 13, again, the number means love in the Hebrew language. I titled it "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay." I don't. I wanted to title it like the Notebook or Love Letter or and I couldn't think of something that brought the emotion of love and the thought of the military hand in hand. And I remember when I was getting ready to go to basic training, like the last 2 to 3 weeks, for some reason, the only song I wanted to listen to was "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" by Otis Redding. Not him and a bunch of covers. I don't know why. That for whatever reason, that song soothed me, and I don't think it has anything to do with the military. I didn't do any. It was the song it was just a song that made me feel good at the time. So that's why I picked the title for this episode, and that's what I want to talk to. I want to talk about, right, my inspiration, right. Because again, like I said, I believe that this isn't really my writing and this isn't my novel. This is God's novel. However, if I was inspired to write of my own accord, right, of my own mind, I believe what would fuel me would be my passion for the military, right? Not just the military, but everyone it takes to support that military, which is everyone who stays behind, right? And sometimes those people that stay behind are the ones that probably feel the deepest, strongest voids, right, from the loss. Whether it's a spouse, a parent, or a child, you know what I mean, or a grandparent, or whatever may have you. Maybe it's just a friend of yours that you hold near and dearer than any blood relation. You're like, man, that's my brother, that's my sister. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna. I never thought of living a life without them, and now I have to, right? And I really don't want to. So that's what I wanted to, again, because of the number, because of what it means, and obviously my book, without the Bible, if the Bible doesn't exist, this novel doesn't exist, right? So I'm like, well, if we're gonna base it on any language, it might as well be the Hebrew language, right? Okay, so those are the things that I'm going to be talking about. And then today, I know I usually end every podcast with a quote or something inspirational. This podcast, it will be the same, but it's going to be with two quotes, right? One's a quote, and one's a quote from a book that I read, and I'll share, and one's a scripture, right? And again, I can't help but to use the word. They just seemed fitting, right? They seem to fit one another, and it just seemed to fit with the podcast and the theme and the number and everything. Okay, so let me get back to this week's progress. Again, we talked about last week. It was good. I missed Tuesday. This week, again, I missed Tuesday. On Saturday, I woke up really sick. My throat was so tight that I actually couldn't talk for like the first hour of the day. And then as the day progressed, I felt better. And then all I did over the weekend was rest. And then today in the morning when I woke up, I still just felt just as tired, and I didn't want to call into work. So I was like, instead of writing, let me dedicate that 51 minutes or an hour, whatever I decided to do to sleep, to get some more rest. So hopefully it won't affect me tomorrow and the rest of the week. And this Monday I did write. Okay, so no excuses. And I don't want to say that I felt sicker today than I did yesterday. I think I felt more well rested because, again, over the weekend, Saturday morning and Sunday morning, I made sure to sleep in as much as I could, right? And then during the day, if I could, I also caught some Z's. So I think that helped me not feel as tired on Monday. But Tuesday, I think I was sleeping on 5 hours of sleep. For me, that's normal, but I think because it's catching up to me, because some nights I'm sleeping maybe 4 or less hours a night, and you as you get older, I don't think that's good for you to do. So, but the progress is good. I am on chapter 10. On Monday, I wasted this Monday, right? Yesterday, I not wasted, but I invested some time on some geographical logistics that I couldn't find because, I'm in the old world. Well, I don't know if I should call it the old world. The team is in Jerusalem, right? The team, or not, they're in Israel, and I found an abandoned place that I wanted to use, but I couldn't figure out, like, logistically how to get from there to another place. And again, it's a novel. It's a it's fiction, but I do like using as much realism as possible, right? As much things grounded in realistic things as possible. It shouldn't. I think it only enhances the story, right? Because then it makes it maybe not more believable, but I mean, if you can see it happening in your world, you're like, that's crazy, right? Or that's pretty cool or interesting. So again, I am really excited, and I want to keep going. I'm just super pumped that I'm finally in the double digits. I'm like, man, because 2 years to do chapter 1, and now to be into chapter 10, after 1 year, you're like, wow, it's a big difference. There's a big jump, right? There's that big gap of when you don't have a tracker, a system, accountability. There's so many things that it takes to get this moving. And now that I don't know if it's the secret sauce. I'll call it that for now, but I think now that I have the secret sauce on my side, I want to keep using it, right? And I want to finish this novel, and I want to keep pumping out more novels. I have ideas for comic books. I have ideas for books like biographies, where I would like to be the ghostwriter if the people that I want to write about are would permit me that, or would give me that honor, right? And if they don't, either way, some people just have phenomenal stories that need to be told, right? Or need to be read, or however they get put out there. Maybe they even create a podcast and they just want to talk about it. Kudos to you, right? Just get it out there. Okay, so because this is the love letter edition, I did want to mention the one event that really kind of made me think, you know what, I need to sign up for the military, because if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, and I'll always have that regret in my heart. So, in March of 2007, a movie that has nothing to do with the U.S. military called The 300 came out, which is about the Spartans and the Persians and the fight that took place at Thermopylae and how they sacrificed themselves. And it's funny because I didn't find out till years later that the book, right, that's nonfiction about that story, I believe that's reading that Marines have to that they have to read. That's part of their boot camp. And I wish they would do the same for Army, because I read it afterwards, right? But it's a great book, and I think anyone should read it, because it's a phenomenal story, and it's amazing that men could muster such courage, knowing, we're gonna die, right? We're a sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice that needs to be done, and I think that's what we're missing. And it's not that you want people to be suicidal, not at all, but sometimes I think we turn tail too quickly nowadays. I don't think we stand to fight, and I don't mean with guns and fists and sometimes we start something and it gets a little difficult, and we just think, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. And it's like, no, the difficulty doesn't mean that you're not going the right path. It just means that you have a goal that's the size of a Mount Everest, and the only way to conquer Mount Everest is to climb it, right? So I hope this novel, and that's another reason, or that's another thing I would hope this podcast and the novel do, is it would help people get motivated, get inspired, and maybe even help them drive, walk, crawl, run, whatever it is that you have to do to get through it, just do it. All right, so I did want to share some of the inspirations, again, that are military. Taya Kyle, Mrs. Kyle, she wrote a book. I haven't read it yet. I am reading it. I have a few books ahead that I'm finishing right now. I will read this. Also, I found this called Soldier Stories. I will read this as well. The one book that I did finish that I found a few months ago was, Three Wise Men, which I already talked about. And this is by Bo Weiss and Tom Stilio, which I already talked about. The quote that I'll be using today, the first quote will be coming from this book, right? And then I also wanted to share with you my most prized possession. So in 2022, I didn't get the cover for free. I bought this, but the Bible inside I did get for free, which I thought was awesome. It's the greatest Bible that's ever lived in my estimation, right? And then I found this flag at a meeting for veterans, and it fits the Bible perfectly. I'm like, yeah, I have to. So this Bible I got for free. I was just inquiring about it online. It's called the Warfighter Study Bible. At the time that I was inquiring about it, when I found it online, I was just curious as to what the price was, because I don't think I would have bought it, but I was just curious. I'm like, well, you never know. I'm like, if they say it's like 15, 20 bucks, I'll probably get it. So I never heard from the gentleman. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a package to my desk at work, and it's this Bible, and it made me cry. I was like, holy smokes. I never thought a free Bible would make me cry, right? And then I got the flag afterwards, and then a few weeks later, I bought this on Amazon for like 13 bucks, which I was like, dude, really, Camo? I have to. All right, so let's get to the quotes. That's my story for this week. We're inspired, we're sick, but we're pushing through. Okay, so this quote is found on page 263 of Three Wise Men, and it says, "You have to read the Bible like it's a love letter from God to you. Pore over every word and search for the meaning of every sentence, every nuance." That was brought to you by Ben Weiss. Thank you, Ben. Okay, and then the second one that I want to read to you is from the Bible itself, right? The book that Ben so elegantly mentioned and spoke about. It says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." John 15:13. Sorry about that. If I'm honest, when I joined, that was the scripture that kept ringing through my head. That was the scripture that told me this is your purpose. You're here to go for it. So these are happy tears, I promise. So thanks everyone for joining me. As always, rightfully yours. This has been George Paredes with the Right on Time podcast. I can't wait to see you guys next time when it's me and my wife, and I promise I won't be crying. Have a great night, guys. God bless you.